Are you tired of flat, boring hairstyles? Do you go through a can of hairspray trying to get that full volumized look? Then bump it up with Bump Its and get that salon-style look fast and easy. Bump Its are the incredible self-stripping hair accessory that give you perfect style and volume every time. Go from flat to fabulous instantly. Imagine being able to create today's hottest hairstyles in seconds. And they're so easy to use. Anyone can be a stylist. Simply part your hair at the crown, give a little tease, insert Bump Its, fluff it up, and you're ready to go. Just look at the difference. Amazing! Go sexy, elegant, casual, sassy, flirty, and fabulous. With Bump Its, you'll feel confident and beautiful every day. Styling hair can take forever and it just falls flat. Bump it up and your style lasts all day long.
So I feel like a commercial like this, it's really predicated on, are you dumb enough to fall for this? Are you... And not that Bump Its don't work. No digs on anyone listening who has bought a Bump It, who is currently bumping it while listening. But the delivery of this commercial, the presentation of it, I feel like it requires you to not see through how ridiculous it is and to think, oh yeah, that is reflecting a need in my life. I do see myself in those women.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many tricks back in the day with these types of infomercials, because that's really what RuPaul's commercials are. They're infomercials, right? Where they're selling this product very differently than a Cheerios commercial, you know? But there's so many other examples, but I think this one is the most draggy that I can think of right now, because you literally have the lighting that they change for, like, you know, this woman who's struggling with hairspray and she's just screaming in the mirror, right? And then the lighting all changes and it's like, oh, you just lift up your hair, you put this headband in, and then you put your hair over the headband, right? And it's like, oh, why didn't I think of that?
Right, and not just your hair is improved, your entire fucking life is improved. I feel like they do that where the before is in black and white, and like the commercials where the Tupperware goes flying out of the cabinet, or just tomato sauce everywhere for some reason. You know, or the worst is like if it's an ad for something like related to like a garbage can or a garbage bag, and they lift the bag out and all the garbage comes out. Oh, and you know there's old spaghetti in there. And always, it's always old spaghetti. And I think, ugh, they have so, like, when I see that, I think those people have more problems in their life than just the garbage bag. That's my association. This is a symptom of a much larger problem in this household.
Well, you know, yeah, I think of I think old Pringles commercials. They would show people eating like Ruffles potato chips, and it would be so crumbly, and it's like,
and
you don't
so
want
greasy.
This. Yeah, greasy.
Oh, so
right?
greasy. Oh.
I always laugh too about when they would for paper towel ads was the same type of Bump It phenomenon, where it's like, do you have these types of paper towels, and it just like literally crumbles in their hand.
Yeah,
and
they wipe up a puddle of orange juice and it just disintegrates. Yeah,
exactly. So, you know, the drag of commercials, whether it's like actual drag where these women, you know, their hair just becomes this huge, voluminous, beautiful thing. Because let me tell you, a Bump It works, okay? But you don't need to buy a Bump It. You can make the Bump It effect with something else, right? That's like what's so interesting about these types of infomercials, is that they're selling you something that you kind of can already do on your own.
It's like, it's like one of those kitchen gadgets that does one specific thing. It's like, well, you know, I don't need a melon baller. I could just use a spoon, you know.
Right.
You know.
Right. And the same with the Tupperware, right? It's like, well, this Tupperware stacks. It's like, well, all Tupperware kind of stacks, Mary, you know?
Right. Yeah, any Tupperware stacks if you're brave enough. Yeah, well, you know, in Bump Its, it's an interesting, and I won't tangent too much on it, but maybe we'll talk about this in our unpopular opinions episode, but I have started watching Jersey Shore. And of course,
God help
there
me.
are Bump Its. I'll tell you, Mary, I'll tell you, there is a lens in which we could marry out on Jersey Shore. Like,
I know. And maybe we should, because I watch that show all the time. I watched it even like in my late 20s, or actually mid 20s, with my ex-boyfriend who loved it. No, for sure. I don't mean to hate too much on it, but it is very problematic. There were really fucked up things that they showed.
Oh, of course, it's terrible. You have to watch it from that removed lens of like, none of this is real, none of it's aged well,
right?
And like, it's like there is such a drag to it, and of course, Bumpits being a big part of it, because I think Snooki was a prominent Bumpiter.
Oh my God, yes. And JWoww is JWoww. I love her not just for loving drag queens, but I also just love her. You know,
JWoww. Oh, I could go on the nuance of Jennifer JWoww.
Oh my God.
Jen. She is. There is something about her. She is the Frances McDormand of Jersey Shore. Like, she's so gritty. It's so good. She's so gravelly.
She was the adult in the room so many times.
Yes. Oh my God. And you know, I never really watched a full episode, so I never fully appreciated like the dynamics. Like, you know who's actually kind of a lovely energy? Pauly D. He's kind of a nice guy. I always thought he was a hothead because of that one meme, but he's kind of lovely. I know. No, listen.
I can't.
And
just
Ron,
those men are so toxic. But,
Ron.
It's so hard for me to get there. But yeah, and Juan. I always say Juan because she had kind of a lisp. Yeah.
Yeah. Ronnie. Oh my God. But like, if you just keep pulling away and just see it as just this like,
I know. I gotta get there.
None of it's real. Yeah. I mean, I
like
know
how
it's
I watch
problematic.
Top Model. It's how I watch Top Model for sure.
It's such an alternate reality, and it's. And maybe, yes, because I'm going on for a while. We will talk about this in Unpopular Opinions, but this ties into what I think we'll end up talking about there. But like, also what MTV shows that came out in my like early 20s or like came out at a certain time, like how they make me feel. Like watching Jersey Shore makes me think, oh, like, yeah, I want to go down the shore and get drunk. Like I see the influence. It's so weird. Like
Party Rock Anthem is playing on your iPod.
Yes, I just want to go to Jenks and just like.
Well, we're both Jersey boys, so we kind of also have that. Like I went, like unironically, as a senior after prom, we went down the shore and brought like a refrigerator full of Mike's Hard Lemonade and Malibu rum. Right, like we were that trashy. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, we vacationed in Wildwood. We went to Cape May. We went to Seaside Heights. Like,
Seaside Park and Seaside Heights are very different. But I digress. We have to go back to this episode. So Mary. So these ads. Okay, so I think the reason we wanted to start here is what's the goal of the RuPaul, branding episode commercial stuff, right? And that makes me think of like really successful past episodes, right? And the one that I think even got Mick was referencing, and even Utica, that whisper voice. Rosé did it too, where they're like, your makeup is terrible. That whisper thing, that's Alaska's. Alaska did that, right? You also have Jinx with the delusions, right? So they're quoting really successful things in the past. Can you think of other successful commercials?
That was actually the number one thing I thought of was like, is the whisper punchline. Like it's, and what's interesting about that is instead of like when that happened, Alaska was doing a parody of like, 90s makeup commercials.
Yes.
And in a way, it's kind of like I felt like some of these were like doing parodies of like, oh, we know that this is what happens on Drag Race. They're doing a parody of Alaska's commercial instead of doing a parody of a real commercial,
right?
Or doing a takeoff of a real commercial. And I felt like that, yeah, it stuck to me as like, oh, this is, these are people who've watched Drag Race,
Yeah, they don't have the references anymore, it seems, because commercials are kind of they're not the same. They're not built the same because now commercials need to sell things in 15 seconds or less, right? Or 5 seconds or less, right?
Yeah.
And or
just ask Liberty
spots.
Mutual.
Oh my God. Yeah. So bibbity boochable. Yeah.
that stupid emu. It's like, what do you have to do with anything?
But I miss the days of the clapper. The clapper is iconic.
Chia Pets.
Clap up. Chia Pets, absolutely, right? Even one that we reference, Mary, almost every single time that we record All Right, Mary. But the Tootsie Roll Pop commercials with the fucking gay owl.
A 1, a 2, a 3, crunch.
Yes.
Mr.
Owl.
Mr. Owl. Listeners who don't know, that is literally how we count down before we start recording. How I count down before we start recording every episode. We do a Tootsie Roll Pop Owl countdown, and that just speaks to the longevity of that commercial.
Right, and you have to wonder what the goal is of these commercials. Is it to be memorable, right? Because we heard that in the critiques. We heard RuPaul say, like, do I want to drink this, right? We also heard, oh, you branded yourself so well. It was so Simone, right? What is the goal here? And I feel like the goalpost moves depending on who the queen is. And at the end of the day, I'm left with, okay, you just got to make it funny, and it's got to make sense, whatever that sense means.
Or make sense in an alternate reality, because I think, to answer your question of like another successful commercial, I think of Katya's commercial in All Stars 2.
Yes.
Where it was like, you're selling something that's not real, and it's shown to quote unquote work, but like it ends up just kind of making you a zombie. So like, is it something you really want? Like, and I remember with that challenge, it was like, and whoever wins, your product will be sold at, the next drag con. And it's like, it's not real. It's not a thing. And I think that like that's those, because then I think of like Detox's like trash talking, garbage can.
Right. And the tape, which actually was sold, wasn't it?
And the tape, yeah, because I think Alaska won that one. Yeah, the whatever, the fashion tape. Yeah. But I think, those are some examples of like, I don't necessarily want to buy any of those, but like, are they giving me infomercial realness? Like, are they clearly referencing something? Are they taking me there and then making it weird? And I feel like in the context of all of this, like, I don't know, it's drag. So, I mean, like, obvious point there, but it's drag. So, like, I expect it to be weird and referential. I don't expect it to be straightforward. I don't expect to want, any of what they're selling. And, like, that's the point. Like, I think making me want it is too on the nose, Sure. Yeah. I think of Tatiana's, like, tea, right? It's like, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's a wink, wink. It's making fun of something. It's sort of like the Bumpets commercial. It's like, well, it's so ridiculous that you have to buy it, right? In a way. Right. And I think that's also what's successful. But it becomes like a gag thing where it's like, I have to buy it because it's so dumb. That's interesting.
Right.
Like Simone's is like that, where it's like, I don't, the reality of this product. Do I want it? Absolutely not. It's got gut rot in it. But is it so ridiculous and so stupid that I'm like, oh my God, I have to have it because that whole idea is so dumb? Yes. And I think it's a hard balance to like create something technically undesirable but make you want it anyway.
Yeah. And when I think about these critiques, and we'll put a pin in this because we'll talk about this later, but it just seems like the goalpost moved for these queens, and it just and even when it came down to the runway looks, like I have so much to say about that, but I'll probably save that for unpopular opinions. But like, I don't know, and I think about, well, what are they actually referencing? What do they actually want? And I just thought that would be an interesting place to start. Mary, let's jump in to these commercials, but before we do, tell our Marys what they're listening to.
Well, they are, of course, listening to another episode of All Right, Mary.
All Right, Mary.
All Right, Mary. Which, of course, is our beady little podcast dedicated to all things draggy, queenie, campy, and queer.
I'm Johnny, and that's what you just did.
And I'm Colin, and I'm not playing that. Rose, it's your week. You got 2 quotes.
She got 2 quotes.
You got 2 quotes. Rose with 2 quotes.
Mary, what did you think of her win? What did you think of her commercial?
You know, I'll gotta give it to her, Biella. You know, I like that we just say you gotta give it to her, Biella, and like never qualify. Nobody knows. Like 3 people know why we're saying Biella, and I'm just gonna leave it there. And that's the Easter egg. You know, surprise, you found one. But you gotta give it to her, Biella, because it was a really good commercial. I mean, yeah, she did. To me, she tried to recapture that whisper punchline the most, like the Alaska whisper punchline.
Sure.
But I feel like I appreciated kind of like it was weird of like, oh, well, I gotta stop being so perfect. It's like, oh, you do, but oh, you poor thing. Help me, I'm poor. I'm perfect.
I am poor. Yeah.
But, you know, I think she did figure it out. Like, I think she did figure it out without it feeling too much like Chad Michaels trying to rough it up on the runway.
Or Courtney Act being ugly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, just because she put a straw in her hair. Yeah.
Right. And her glasses went askew. Yeah.
I'll never forgive it.
I certainly have thoughts on why it was successful. Before I go into that, let's take a quick little break. I think Rosé's commercial was successful in terms of RuPaul's judging because she referenced Drag Race, right? Mm-hmm. She referenced it with the Jantasy nightgown. What is it? Bathrobe.
The robe, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Brilliant, right? Also, Stephanie's Child. Like, you kind of love to see it, don't you?
Oh, I mean, it's like, absolutely. Like, you got to, take those opportunities. And it's also part of the sort of Drag Race tradition of making, inside baseball references.
Yes. And then the other thing that she did that you can go back in the history books is she does a freeze face, a freeze ugly face. My favorite example of that is in season 10 with Asia O'Hara.
Oh, right. Oh, I forgot about that moment. Yeah.
The Butterface app that was so offensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
That if you are able to do that successfully, that is one of the main ingredients to winning the episode.
Yeah, it's like if you can do a face that gets accompanied with the sound effect of boing,
yes,
then yeah. Like I think a little bit of like Jinx in Delusion in the perfume ad where she kind of makes that like that sort of sour face to the camera at the end, and it's like there it is. That's the little boing at the end.
Yes, Katya does that really well. That just kind of like
Yeah. It's I'm always here for it. Like I love it in a lip sync. I love when someone pulls like a Lucy Ricardo. Yes. Yeah, and I love Lucy face. A Lucy Ricardo face. Yeah, Lucille Ball. I was like, what's her real name? Yeah.
Yeah, and the Easter egg is that there was a wonderful Lucille Ball. A Lucille Ball commercial call out this episode to Michelle Visage. Do you pop out at parties? Love it. Ugh. RuPaul.
I only wish that Michelle had said back, "Are you unpopular?" That's all I would have asked for.
Exactly. That I'm assuming Michelle got it, but like to hit it back would have been really nice.
Yeah, I think RuPaul was like waiting at the other side of the net, like Never mind.
What did she say to Ross? Because she didn't know what to say. She was like, "Drink up," right? What did she say?
Oh yeah, chug a lug.
Oh, chug a lug. Yeah, she didn't know what to say back because she was like, "This isn't working."
Yeah, I was like, "Well, that's not what I was expecting." Yeah.
Go ahead.
That'll be a topic later. But the one thing that moment brought up with each of the judges this week was, and there's a couple other moments later in the judging where I felt like it begged the question of like, who are the characters these judges are playing on the panel? Like. I guess I'm thinking of like when Michelle said like my mouth was open and that only happens in the men's room of the club, and I was like, Michelle, you're a married mother of like 2 girls, like you're not her. But I think
she's bareback Betty, Mary.
Well, that's what I mean. Is like she's playing bareback Betty, but it's and Carson is playing like it's sort of. It's a little stale of like the sort of like
pass around party bottom. Is that who?
Yes, yeah, but like in a very kind of coded way. It's like, oh, I've been to the Bronx and it was lovely, and it just kind of assumes that he's just getting like railed by Bronx D.
Yes.
And I don't know what character Ross plays. I feel like he's it's just like a variation of like Ross Matthews, the
Bossy
kind of
Rossi.
Bossy Rossi. Yeah, like it's just I don't feel like he's playing as much of a character, but I don't
He's
know. I
like
thought
if
about this
you
week.
interview him on Snatch Game, right? If he's his Snatch Game character, right? If he was on Match Game with RuPaul, right? What do they call it when she tried to reboot it? She called it something.
Oh, gay for pay, gay for play.
Yes, gay for
yes,
play. Oh,
yes.
God.
Like if Ross was a Hollywood square, this is the Ross we're getting.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, back to Rosé, successful because it was also edited really well. She had her name in the brand, and seemingly was poking fun at herself. And I think they love to see that, where it's like, okay, I'll take what you're saying and I'm going to poke fun at myself this week.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
go ahead.
I was wondering if the name of the drink, it was like Rosade. That sounds like Prosade. Isn't that like a makeup thing? Prosade, like helps you take off makeup or something?
I don't know.
I don't think she was making it. Well, I'm going to look it up.
When I thought of
Prosade.
Rosade was like, the Live Aid, right? Where they're raising money for something,
Oh, Prosade is an adhesive. So they, you would.
Don't put it in your hair. Yeah.
No. There's a big difference between Got to Be and Gorilla Glue,
Sure.
apparently.
Yes.
But yes, I think she having her name in the name of the product was, I think, kind of like probably part of what got her the double win. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, you fully got the assignment.
Right, and it's pink and whatever, and speaking of Got and having your name in the product, very interesting, right? That Got's product, it was Got Mix, Got Sex XXX Juice, right? And then they're like, oh, I love that you put your name in the product. And then they show this shot of Got, and it's like, oing, 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 oing.
Right, yeah, boing, 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 yeah, because it was like I remembered the name of the product, and I think, in terms of Got Mix, I mean, unless you want to keep talking about rosé, but
No.
no, I do not. I think that Got Mix, I appreciated actually. It was actually a really smart idea, and I think even RuPaul was like, I see what you're doing. You're taking it to this next level of being ironic that you're actually. This drink doesn't do anything. It's delusion.
Right.
So I guess it is a variation on the delusion commercial.
Exactly.
But it's a clever idea, but I think it was, she bit off more than she could chew. Like I think a queen like Katya could probably like sell this idea,
I thought she did so well. I thought it was so funny. I love granted, I'm a sucker for physical comedy. Like that always gets me.
Oh, yeah.
I think she did the voice really well. We had footage on a mainstream television show of a grown man making fart sounds on his arm because of this. There was a
Thank
lot
God.
of yeah.
Thank God.
Thank God, right? There was a lot of camp with this, and I even liked the pit crew the most in this ad. Their faces when they were looking at her. I don't know. I thought Got Mix should have been in the top because and I'll talk about this on Unpopular Opinions, I'm sure, but she had the best runway this week, by far. Like what do they say in horse races, right? Like three car lengths ahead of everybody.
Seabiscuit. Yeah.
Yeah. Secretariat.
Secretariat, yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. That's what I thought about that commercial. I thought she got what they were doing and then put the piss in it, or took the piss out of it, rather.
I really did like the idea, and I felt like the concept was one of them, I think, the most creative. There's others that we'll talk about that I thought were not very creative. It just I could see why it didn't fully sell through, but I didn't think it was. I think, and I guess the judging kind of reflected this. I don't think she was in the bottom three. Mm-hmm. Like I think it was right in the middle of like, okay, I see what you were doing. There were probably a few tweaks that would have really sold this, but like, you're still safe, certainly.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I would have put her in the top alone for referencing moderate to severe plaque psoriasis.
I did appreciate that. Like it was, yeah, I mean, what's interesting is she really kind of like nailed the pharmaceutical commercial thing, which I think is ripe for comedy and is ridiculous. And I think there is a drag to pharmaceutical ads for sure that I appreciated. But yeah, I mean, I guess I would say that I would put her above Candy in terms of successful ads and runways this week for sure.
Okay. I would have put her above Candy, but I also wouldn't put Candy for her commercial, right? Because her runway is another story. But for her commercial, Candy's was not. Candy, yeah, she would have been in the bottom, I guess, if I'm going to count. Actually, no, she would have been fourth. She would have been right in the middle for me. What did you not like about it?
You know, what seemed to me was this huge missed opportunity for Candy to fully recreate sitting alone in the VIP. Sunglasses on, hands in the lap, the actual look. Like, I couldn't believe that, like, I was like, there it is. And we already know what it is. Not that she knows this, not that she's seen the season already, but, like, we know about it from a previous episode. So, like, it was already set up for anyone who hasn't seen the meme. And I felt like that was also the point of the product was like, so you're sitting in your own VIP. Like, why didn't they have her and the pit crew each sitting in a chair with their hands in their laps and their sunglasses on? Like, that would have been the gag for me. I felt like Candy's there wasn't any like real like twist on it. Where like Gottmik was doing a twist on something. I felt like Candy's was like, and this drink will turn you up. Mm-hmm. It was just like, okay, you know?
I mean, it goes back to our clip of the week discussion, right? Like what was the goal? Were they supposed to brand themselves? Were we supposed to brand like who they are when we drink this? Like what was the brand? And for that I don't think Candy's was that successful because I'm like, wait, how is a hallucination drink selling candy? I thought it was clever with the case special that I thought that was funny. And she's got that it factor where she's just kind of crazy and charming on screen. And so I was like, okay, this is mildly entertaining. She looks funny, lapping up milk on the ground. Like, I'm here for that. There was all those little jokes that I was like, okay, this works for me. This worked in some sphere for like, okay, this is a candy commercial.
Yeah, I guess I just expected something, I don't know, something more. I don't know what I expected. I don't know if I had expectations. I think I was just like, okay, that was fun.
Sure. Sure. I thought that hers was better than Olivia's.
I mean,
Olivia's,
I think
she's going through the desert. She's going through the snow and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, maybe one of my problems was that Olivia's actual drink, I felt like it looked like RC Cola, like the can itself, and I associate RC Cola with just like, ugh. RC.
Leave us alone, RC. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Really crappy.
I think she was on the right path. I mean, I don't know. She tried to. When she said you live, you learn, or whatever it was, I'm just like, not Olivia quoting Alanis and then calling herself a marketing genius. I'm like,
I know. I always like the Morissette erasure.
With Olivia, it's very similar to Candy, where it's like, Olivia, really all you needed to do was give us that smile, and it's like, great, you can sell anything, right? So from a commercial standpoint, Olivia is already strong because I believe her and I'll buy anything that she's selling. But the point of the commercial, I got it, and I thought it was basic. I didn't think it was that funny.
Right. I felt like it was, it wasn't terribly funny, but I also feel like there was just the basic thing of like, it's kind of like, Kenya, you like the smell of beaver. Like it's like, Olivia, like you're supposed to be happy once you find the drink. It's like, right. I got the idea of like, just stop smiling.
Yeah.
Like it was interesting of like, you're you're too happy. I thought that was sort of just an interesting narrative, and maybe something unexpected from Olivia, who like that's been her, selling point this entire competition is just how like lovely she is.
Yeah. Even in the beginning of this episode, right? Didn't they?
Yeah.
She was like, "Oh, well, I know I was in the bottom, but I wasn't too pressed about it." And Candy's like, "Girl, shut the fuck up."
Right. Like she's saying, "So I don't take it personally. No big deal. Like really, 4 people said you should go home."
Yeah. That's what
yeah.
it is. Yes.
That's. I mean, and it does kind of make the sort of meta narrative of Olivia in the competition interesting, where it's like. We had Tina Burner saying like, oh, there's that, she's, ninja diva. Like, you got to show us that diva. And she kept kind of insisting on that. And then this episode, I feel like there's something about like, who's the real Olivia Lux? And like, does she know,
Well, I think that. I don't think that Olivia is this like diva, secret diva. I think that she has opinions and that she has expectations. But I still don't, for me, if I were to say like, what is Olivia's brand? It's not that stupid little purse. And it's not that I think it's stupid, because I don't think that when you think about it, it's like, oh no, it's a cute little purse. It's a cute little gimmick, but that's not an identity, right? That would be an accessory to your identity, which I get, right? Maybe this luxe brand, or maybe it's like you have this luxe brand, but then you have these really campy things, right? But I wonder if Olivia is ever going to lean into that she is just Miss Sunshine. And it doesn't seem like she gets that yet.
Right. Like, yeah, I don't mean that like, oh, she's not showing us who she really is. It's like, does she have that harness on like, like, oh, this is my personality. This is my brand. This is what I do. Like, this is the consistent theme throughout. Like, I think that's, I guess between last week and this week, we're kind of seeing that she, at least in this competition, doesn't seem to have that squared away.
Right. I would have put her in the bottom. And for the runway is another story, but for this commercial challenge, I thought hers was kind of the most kind of like meh, and I don't think you want meh. Even Utica, we could talk about Utica's. Utica's was memorable, and the fact that it was so bizarre. It was Florence and Machine starring as Jack's mom in an adult production of Into the Woods. Like, for that alone, interesting.
Yeah, I'll remember it. Like it stuck out. Like there was, did I want to drink that drink? No, but I don't want to drink most of these drinks. Like that's not the point. There's a world where I could have seen, especially if we're going to factor in runway, I could have seen Olivia and Tina in the bottom, because I do feel that the judges got it right this week with Miss Burner.
Okay. There is a world. Oh my God, I'm gonna just get canceled. But there is a world where I could see Simone being in the bottom this week.
Wow. Okay.
I'll say
in the words of Nell, Spifome.
Yeah, sure. So, I'll talk about Simone and then we can transition into Tina, which is I think what we wanted to talk about next. But and this will set it up. So, at the end of the day, Simone did the same voice that she's done twice already. And it's like, you're giving this to us again, right? Change it up, evolve, right? Do something different, or you already did this, right? And you did it twice already, right? And granted, like, it was funny. And I think at the end of the day, that's what matters, is that Simone has found a personality when she's doing these things that is funny. She had very smart lines. It also referenced her journey, making something stiff loose, right? I get all of that. And so for that, it's like, no, do not put her in the bottom. It was funny. It was successful. She did really, really well. She looked impeccable, right? All of that. But I can see a world where they put Tina's lens on Simone, where it's like, well, Simone, you keep giving us this. And I don't want to talk about the runway too much, but like, what was Simone's look? If you think about it, right? Like, what was the look in terms of fashion, right?
It was a furry costume.
Yeah, exactly. She was wearing her costume. But still, like, I don't want to make it seem like I didn't like Simone, because let me tell you, Marys, please let me make it clear. I was happy that Simone won and glad she was in the top. but I can see a paradigm where she wasn't, because the commercial is, sure, it was selling, crack cocaine, a drink that, makes your heart go up and makes you really, really happy, whatever, and had a great logo, and RuPaul really liked the jingle, and all of that. Now, Tina, I just think Tina is getting a double standard here.
That's interesting. I mean, I think in terms of Simone, I had not. You're right, and I feel like I saw it, but I didn't let myself hear it. You know what I mean? Or I didn't let myself see it. But I mean, in the words of Trixie Mattel, "You're right, girl. You're right."
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that that is an interesting point. I think that Simone, I did feel that it's funny, the way that we saw it play out in the rehearsal was right away she locked into that character, and Ross and Carson were like, oh, that's it, she's got it in the bag. She can do anything. And have you ever had a dream that you could do so much, you could do anything? He could do you so much you could do anything. But you're right that it did feel like, oh, but we have gotten this delivery before. And I think the benefit is that Simone has also identified a drag persona that RuPaul loves. Yeah. RuPaul loves this. Yes. RuPaul loves a bit of sassy streetwalker energy.
Oh yeah.
Like sassy streetwalker played by Diane Carroll. He loves that. And I think
played by Pearl Bailey, right?
And Pearl Bailey. Certainly Simone seems to be pulling from RuPaul's favorite flavors, and there's nothing wrong with that because she's doing it really, really well. It is, there is a lot of nuance to it in a way. It is entertaining, and I was not upset about her winning. I was like, yeah, I mean, that about did it. That was easy. And maybe that's part of it too, is that in a way, it's oh, it just seemed so easy. I want to see. We've seen Simone struggle in, the musical challenge, but something like this where it's I want to see her go further. I think I would be willing to say that you could put the same paradigm on Bianca Del Rio, of it's kind of the same energy every challenge, and she won, same dress every week, and she won. And it's an energy that RuPaul loves. It's a way of delivering things that RuPaul loves. So it's I think if you've landed on a brand that works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Oh,
but at the same time, I guess it depends on if the brand works. And maybe that is leading to Tina, where it's I think that Tina's brand, it feels a little dated. Can I say that?
RuPaul loves Mommy Dearest. She loves which I think Tina can do really well. She loves a tough, Miss Trunchbull, right? I think that she gets that, and I think that Tina was delivering that. It's just interesting that Tina's critique was, well, you did the housewife thing. It's well, yeah, she did it once, and it was on Rosé.
That's true. That was an unfair critique, because I was well, she hasn't really, it's if she was wearing red, yellow, and orange, okay, call her out. But
well, and she was. And so that's the other thing. Tina not understanding her critique, to me, it makes so much sense that she doesn't understand it. I don't even know what the girls were even trying to say in Untucked, because the judges should have just said, Tina, the red, orange, and yellow thing is tired, right? Yeah. And also, we don't really like the housewife thing. Do something else. Instead, or we don't like your brand. It's not as good as these other girls' brands, right? They should have just come out and said that, but instead it's oh, well, you have to evolve, you have to move. It's that's not consistent with the other messages that you've given. It just kind of came out of nowhere a little bit that they were calling the housewife thing tired. They should have just stuck with the burning red fire thing and been yeah, it didn't. It was kind of expected. It's okay, that's what was expected, not the housewife thing. Because I thought her commercial made sense. I thought it was good. And it in a normal world, this would have been kind of middle of the road for me, or low safe.
Yeah, I felt the commercial I mean, this is where I was like, it was a train wreck. Like it was, I think what didn't work for me, and I think this is where I'm kind of saying like stale, is like the punchlines were kind of like, oh, and I said a 4-letter word. Damn. Like that's so stale. Like it's, I just felt like you need to, like, I think whereas Simone, yeah, she's doing something we've seen before, but her punchlines are a little bit fresher.
Right.
Oh,
wow. That's a really great perspective to my idea. Yeah.
And I think that's where it's like, yeah, okay, we kind of know the Simone brand, but it's fresh, it's current, it works. Whereas like Tina's, I do feel like I'm watching a drag show at Therapy in 2004, like it is a little bit of that. And it's like, I mean, even the jokes of like, oh, maybe we could have sex, like, oh, it's not Saturday. It's like this is old. Like, give us something else. And I mean, I think from a branding standpoint, it was like, well, you never even said the name of the drink in the commercial. I didn't know it was the name until the last 2 seconds when I saw the can and Nathan Lang, Katie Lang's brother Nathan Lane sang the jingle at me. Like I just was like, it's called Burning Up. Why didn't you call it Hell Yeah?
Yeah, that's right. That's very true.
And it just, I don't know. I felt like Tina's, I think that's where it felt dated. The aesthetic of her in the commercial, I was like, okay, whatever. I kind of actually liked the blue and white polka dot and the red wig. Actually looked really good. But
I think it would have been just like such a gag. And who knows, maybe she wanted this idea and they said no. But like, name the drink Tina.
I mean, come on. And have the tagline be "It burns through your brain," like, give me the meth reference, Tina. Bring me the meth reference.
Too dark.
Too dark. But
what did they do? Oh, it was Ahura that got red for being too dark for the BBC. But I don't know. They're making
VH1.
Yeah, they're making lots of jokes like that. I don't know. The Bachelor had a sex toy on it this season, right? Like it's like, come on, lighten up.
I mean, there's fisting jokes every season. I feel like, it's like, listen, like if we're gonna go to that shelf, like this should be fun. And it's like, it's not like we haven't made meth references, and I know it feels weird to like die on the hill of meth references. It's less about the meth, to be abundantly clear, and more of the like neutering, more of the we have to make it TV friendly,
blurring out the nipples. Yes.
No,
I totally get it.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, it's kind of like Simone's drink should have been Tina's drink.
Sure.
In terms of what it did.
Tooth, yeah, absolutely.
Like in terms of the cardiac arrest.
Yeah. Or even, Candy's Special K, there were similarities, right? And Tina didn't go there. She went to a drink that makes you horny. But I would have wanted to drink that, right? It's like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll have a little drink.
Yeah. I'll have a sip of that. Sure. You got a straw for that?
Yeah, I got a straw for that. Yeah. I think Tina got the short end of the stick here. It just seemed like the show was kind of done with her. And they put this lens on her, which seemed kind of sudden. And, Marys can point out to me, if they want, like where we've seen them start to call this out with Tina before. But, I mean, maybe RuPaul has been like, well, what are you about, Tina? Maybe. I can't really remember. I don't know. Just odd. I know that there's this like Rose v. Tina thing that they keep trying to play up that I'm just like, I just don't see it. I just don't see that rivalry here.
Yeah, there wasn't a there.
Yeah.
Which does remind me. Do you want to hear my impression of Rosé?
Yes.
Baby.
Do it again.
Baby. Baby.
It was better the first time.
I know. I can't recreate it. Sorry. Let me not think about it.
Well, I'll do an impression. I'll do an impression of. I was doing Lin-Manuel Miranda the other day.
Oh God!
It was. I'm not giving away my. I'm not gonna do it.
baby. I can't do it again. Once I can have one baby.
Baby.
It's like baby, baby. It's I can't
Baby.
stand it with the baby. Baby. I mean, baby.
Rosé. You know, you got to give it to a Rosé this week. There was a tightness, a perfection that was similar to Simone's, right?
I mean, the runway was incredible. Yeah. Like, I was certainly like, okay, I'm not mad at this. I'm warming up, you know.
You know, we didn't. I wanted to go back to Uta Can.
Sure. Yeah.
When you think it can't, Uta Can.
I mean, I kind of did love that. Yeah. Especially with the can dropping and spraying everywhere.
Oh,
that
girl,
was
totally.
heaven.
Totally. Yeah. She had that. She referenced a very specific commercial. Are you sad? Is this you? You know that the Zoloft commercials?
Ball? Yeah.
The
egg.
That's how this started. And it was, are you sad? Are you depressed? Are you also depressed? I'm just like, this worked. You know, I don't know. It was so weird.
It was so weird. And I would say at the end of the day, like, go for weird over going for like straightforward and safe. Like,
sure.
I prefer that. So
sure. Yeah. Which is why Candy's also, I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, it was super weird. It was super, candy coated dream in that sense. Why Olivia's was kind of flat for me, but whatever. I'm happy to have Olivia on my screen another week for sure.
Sure. I do think, the tea leaves are suggesting, the lights might be going out soon on Olivia Lux, but, we'll see. Well, it'll be interesting to see her in a roast to see, if she can, all right, chickens, let's get this roast a cooking,
There's a fox in the hen house. Mary, we need to take a quick little break before we talk about what's coming up.
You know what I love?
What's that, Mary?
I love therapy.
Oh, you love her.
Love her and need her.
Can't get enough of her, which is why we love BetterHelp. That's H-E-L-P. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed professional therapist safely and privately.
You can be matched with someone within 24 hours. Tinder wishes.
And with phone or video sessions available, scheduling a session is as easy as ordering a pizza.
And I do love pizza. I also love that you can send a message to your counselor at any time and actually get a response.
And if you want to change counselors, no problem. It's both free and easy.
BetterHelp is available worldwide, and their counselors are licensed and trained in everything from depression and anxiety to grief, relationships, sleep, self-esteem, and more.
There are so many people using BetterHelp right now. They've recruited more counselors in all 50 states. It's more affordable than traditional in-person talk therapy, and there's even financial aid available if you need.
Marys, if you're interested in trying BetterHelp, get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/allrightmary, and that's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P.
That's right. Join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health. That's betterhelp.com/allrightmary. And again, that's H-E-L-P. Mary, everything's coming up, Rosé.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I do want to say before we move into the meta, I would be remiss if I did not say Tina's air trumpet during that lip sync. I was like,
Mary.
Send her home.
Mary, why do they go to this? It's not just Tina. It's really good drag queens. That sounded so shady. Really good drag queens like Tina go to this air trumpet thing. And I'm just like, no.
And you know what I hated the most about it? I could see her lips while she was doing it, and she already had like the pursed lips painted on. So it was just this little asshole behind your fingers, This
little
just like
cat butt. Yeah,
this little cat asshole, yeah.
Totally.
And I hate my humps. I hate that song so much.
So I gotta say, a runner-up for this week's Last Chance Lip Sync that I was going to suggest to you was Alanis Morissette's "My Humps."
I can. The judges will accept that, absolutely.
It is the funniest parody of that.
It
song
really
that
does
I've
work.
Heard. Yeah,
but I hate the original song. I think whenever it came out, there must have been people in my life. It just seemed like, and no shade to anyone who's done this, but there's that that make you scream, and the key change in there, and it seemed like everybody had to do it, and nobody could. You know what I mean? Like no one can hit the second one, but they always do it. And it drove me up.
Make you scream, make you scream.
There was always someone who someone would always do that, but the second make you scream would be like, it would just sound like, you know, when you stretch a balloon and the air comes out. Like it was
gonna
was
turn
one of
and
those,
burn, gonna turn and burn in town with you.
Yeah, it was a bit of that. Yeah.
Turn and burn. Whenever Tina said like turn it and burn it, I always went to that commercial parody. Gonna turn
That
and
was a
burn
great
in town
commercial.
with you. Yeah.
I know that they technically like weren't in the top
lost.
that week,
Yeah.
but that was a great commercial.
Oh
It was
my
a great
God,
commercial.
Katya, right?
She was fabulous. Oh, it was so good. So
and my
yeah,
beat, right? Doesn't she do that voice?
Beat
To another beat or whatever it is.
yeah. I think she eats some skin at some point. Yeah. And you know, we'll talk about the runways in the unpopular opinions episode, but like, I just have to say about, I mean, Tina, I'm sorry. I know I'm just raking you over the coals here, but like, I did not like this look, but I think what I didn't like the most was the wig. I hate, like, it was so mom. It was so mom.
But not in a good way?
But not in a good way.
Yeah.
It was definitely like, I'm getting Halloween party at school. Mom has come as this like thing. That's mom's hair.
Yeah.
Like it was she looked like a big mom, you know? You know, like weren't there like
I
kids?
celebrate that. I think I had so many problems with this runway, with how many of these queens interpreted this theme. So I'm gonna kind of like just give Tina a pass for that sense. But you know, at least it was different, Mary. At least she didn't come out as, you know, this,
Orange and red and yellow.
Right. The orange monster from Bugs Bunny, you know?
Well, yeah, which I'm surprised that she at no point was she like that big. Like she had wigs that made her look like that red monster that gets his hair done. Maybe I would have accepted the red in that case, but I think it was once when she first came out, I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is different. I'll give her that. But I think having to watch this look lip sync to my humps was. It was serious moonlight for me, Mary. I hated it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Like her doing all those dance moves in that mom wig. I hated it. I just was so mad.
Well, you don't like weddings for this reason.
Yes, this was like somebody's cousin breaking it down on the dance floor, and I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, but I would assume then that you appreciated Utica's interpretation of it because it was a witch doing it.
Yes. Oh, Utica's interpretation was great. I feel like she figured out how to do it and make it interesting and make it funny and not just revert to like don't do the running man. Don't do that thing where you lift one leg up and you jerk your knee. You know what I mean? That thing. Don't do that.
Yeah, she was throwing the kitchen sink out there. She was doing what she knows, which is that very Tina Burner-esque lip sync, which granted, Mary works in a club. It's just when it is on Drag Race on this huge stage, we've come to expect something different. She was in that costume. And with Utica, she turned the song into, I'm going to eat my humps, right? And my humps being my pretties, right? Like outside of her, right? She's going to eat them because they're hers, right?
Yeah.
And I think it made it less cringy. But I can see a world where, you know, where Tina won. They did show her not lip syncing, which again goes back to why she didn't win the musical episode, which I think was still the wrong decision. She should have won that episode. This competition kept Tina around, which was great. She was great TV. She knew how to give the talking heads.
She's a good narrator.
Yeah,
she's a really good narrator.
She was a good narrator. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I don't think they had anything left to tell of Tina's.
Yeah, it was never. It was. I feel like, you know, in terms of like people are like, oh, you know, Utica should have gone home, whatever. I think there's more narrative with Utica. It might only be one more episode, but there was more to get from Utica. Or Tina, it was. I don't think there wasn't going to be anything new. And I kind of agreed with Carson, like I never need to see orange, red, and yellow again. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that was like, well, I think that means we never need to see her drag again on this, you know, on this channel, in this competition. So
What are the other stories that still need to be told? Obviously, Rosé needs to have her, comeuppance in some way. She needs to be solid.
Yeah. So Rosé, I mean, I agree with what you said. Everything's coming up Rosé. I do think Rosé is on the up and up now.
Yeah, right. I mean, so was Denali, but, that was another story.
Yeah.
What about Got Mick?
I think what was interesting about this challenge and what I feel like was kind of an extension of like Got Mick in this competition is like Got Mick's really like is a clever cookie, and like I think it's very easy to go, oh, she's 21, this kid, but like clearly has just a boatload of creativity and a lot of great ideas, and I think for the rest of the season, I think what we saw this challenge was like, can you execute on them? Like, can you stick the landing? Like, can you figure it out to the same level that Rosé and Simone seem to figure it out in challenges? And I do still think Got Mick's going to the end, but it's I think at this point, I don't know. Like, I don't think there's any like new narratives around her. I think it's more of just like, can Got Mick? I think she needs like another win under her belt.
I just think he's doing way higher drag in a way. Like what he is bringing to the runway each week is just at a different level. This week's look, it was so well done and well conceived. And yes, it did remind me of Monique Hart's monster look, right? But
right. Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was so well conceived. I think he knows exactly who the woman is that he plays. And I love the gorge now. I was like, what is this? And then I'm like, no. Okay, this works.
Yeah. Well, I think the gorge it's kind of like your idea of like if you were to do drag, it'd just be this like this buxom slut. Like I think it's leaning
Chesty
into that
McGee.
like yes, that ridiculous like 90s Cinemax, kind of sex pot kind of girl, like
who's really smart and tough. Yeah,
right. Yeah, it's like there's a movie, and I haven't seen it, but I know Anna Nicole was in an action movie. It's called Anna Nicole Smith. But anyway, it's in my Netflix queue or in my like Amazon Prime queue. Skyscraper, 1996 direct-to-video movie starring Anna Nicole Smith. But like if you look it up and you even just look at like the cover of the VHS, it's exactly what you're saying. It's like, okay, well she's this big busty blonde, but she's the one who's going to save the day in Skyscraper. Like, but the way she's holding a gun and the determined look on her face, it's like,
wow, that image. Okay,
right,
okay.
Right.
Work.
And I think that's
it looks like a porno.
It does, right? Yeah, more like Guy Scraper,
Hole scraper.
Yeah.
Those nails.
Yeah, right. Oh my God, watch your walls,
What's Olivia's storyline moving forward?
I think the storyline is that Olivia needs some and this is what I think the show is telling. I don't know this obviously, is that she needs more time to really fully figure out who Olivia Lux is and turn up the wattage. And I think that I don't expect her to like suddenly rebound and like make it to the top 4. I think it's more of like, you've still got some figuring. Like I think there's, when they say about a queen that she still doesn't really know who she is, I feel like it's okay. Well, then she's not going to go to the end,
Yeah. I mean, I completely, I think we need tears from Olivia. And I don't mean I want to make her cry, but I think we need some real, like, what does Olivia look like when she's really emotional, right? Not when she's losing or whatever, but like that she's talking about her drag or her story, or like what other part of Olivia besides you're so positive, right? I know she had a struggle. I know her, upbringing and whatever. They went into that, but there's got to be something else that keeps her going, that keeps her smiling like that.
Yeah. There is that certain point when someone is that positive, where it's like, I mean, I think Ben de la Creme is an interesting example of like, there was always an undercurrent of what that positivity was about, whereas Olivia, it seems more of just like, no, I'm just a really positive person now, Sure. And that's kind of that. It's like that Rita Rudner thing of there's nothing interesting about somebody who's good looking and confident.
Right. You gotta, I don't know. Maybe she took Rosade. Be perfect now with Rosade.
Yeah, she needs to take a little more. I don't know. Got sex juice. You know.
And then I guess Candy's very interesting to me now. She had a great spotlight this week that I think was a story that needed to be told on, her gay bashing and that trauma. And it's like, yeah, of course, that's gonna stay with you. Besides just the physical scars, right? But it's interesting because I'll be the first to say that, I judged Candy on this show based on my experience as an audience member in New York, which was, that she could perform the house down boots, but when you had a conversation with her off stage, she was, another type of way. And that's unfair of me, right? That's totally misjudging. And I'll say it, like I totally misjudged Candy. And I think that people are used to now hating on Candy, and that's why she's getting that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly, I think this week, it was like, not only is it kind of a backstory about Candy, but I think is just a good topic to explore in general when I think of just, not to tangent on a topic we've covered before, but just like, mean gays, where it's like, well, there can be a similar root there where it's like, well, people just harden and they just get defensive. And because, there are traumas from your childhood if you're, a little queer. And it is kind of interesting to see that connection of like, it's very easy to just look at someone who's being aggressive or whatever word you want to put on it and not see the humanity underneath. And I think we certainly saw that with Candy this week. I mean, I think nothing excuses the past that she got for that runway. But that's, I guess that's not on her.
No, it's not on her. I just, I think about Tina leaving and her being like, I surprised myself because I let my guards down. I became friends with people. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of drag queens like that, right? Tina, there's a reason why you weren't in Rosé's circle. And I think the same with Candy. It's like there's a reason why Candy isn't in everybody's good graces. And I don't want to say it's not her fault because it's not her fault. But it's also, there's a reason why. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like once you see that reason, then it's like, oh, well, that I can connect with.
Sure. Yeah. And sometimes you just got to be nice. You just got to be nice to people that are mean or people that might not trust so easily.
Right. Like give people a reason to let down their defenses. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm happy that Candy is sticking around. I think, granted, if she had gone home when she was supposed to go home, like, okay, great. But there's a story that they're telling with Candy that I think they're finally able to do that they weren't able to do before.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I think that's become such a common question of like, why is Candy still in this competition? It's like, and I think this is similar to what you're saying. To me, it's a little bit less of why is she still in this competition and why is she still on this season of Drag Race?
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Because we know that, she fumbled a few times and certainly this runway, it was like, girl, you're going to let that go. But the competition is doing something else. And at some point as fans of the show, we have to watch the show and kind of see what the show is trying to tell us. You know what I mean? It's not always the best drag queen win. And I know that's what RuPaul says, but that's half of the show.
Yeah, and what does the best mean? Like there's then there's that whole conversation. Because I think another example of this is Adore Delano. I think you watch her trajectory through the season, and like there might be weeks where it was like, "Girl, I'm in that look. Like, how are you getting a pass?" Or you're in the bottom again.
Tyra Sanchez,
yeah. Tyra killed the competition, but it's like a queen can kind of struggle or stumble or not be the most polished, and that's not why they're going to the end is because of the level of polish. But like with Adore, it was like, we did see an evolution by the end of her time on the series or the season. It was like, oh yeah, I see a full story here. And I think the same thing's happening with Candy.
It would have been really hard to watch if they edited Candy to be the Sour Patch Kid that the viewers want her to be. It would have been really, really hard to watch and annoying and frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, to quote Toni Collette, what a waste, you know, like it. And now your sister is dead. And so it would have been a waste because instead we're getting a way more nuanced story, and we've already had plenty of like loud, tough energies in the room, you know, in plenty of other seasons.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's problematic, right? So they're trying to do right. And if you don't want them to do right and you don't believe them, you're like, no, I know Candy's mean. I know she's aggressive, blah, blah. It's like, okay, well then think that, feel that. And then later.
Yeah. And, you know, it's like kind of the bookend.
She doesn't care. At the end of the day, she doesn't care. Which I love.
Like, as much as the judges are playing characters, so are all the queens. Like, everyone is playing a version of themselves. And the editing is giving us a narrative of them, but, like, nothing's ever complete. And so, like, you know, they could very, very, very easily show that, like, tell that side of Candy or give us that character of Candy with the exact same footage they had on hand. They could have very easily done that. And, you know, so it is just like the choice of, well, you know, what story do you want to tell about somebody?
Right. And I applaud them for telling another story that isn't what we expect. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Do you have any other final predictions before we wrap this up, Mary?
You know, I do think that at this point, I think Olivia and Utica are probably, you know, in the next zone to board the flight. You know, like I think I do really. I mean, I assume they'll do a top 4, and you know, it'll be Candy and Rose and Gottmik and Simone. I also feel like at this point, you know, this is jumping way ahead, but I was thinking about this of like, oh, like I fully expect Simone to take, like, I think this week after the 4th win, I was like, oh, she's going to take this whole challenge, this whole competition. But I wonder, it made me wonder if like, oh, I wonder what the finale is going to be though. You know, like I wonder if there's going to be sort of, I felt like season 12 was kind of a lip sync off, but also kind of a Drag Race Thailand finale. And so, you know what I mean? Where it's like, you know, present your original performance. And so I
hope they're doing it on the runway.
Yeah, right. Like I hope it's at least on the runway, but so I'm kind of hoping that's what it's going to be, is more of like presenting like an original performance at the end. And I do think if that's the case, Simone's going to have this in the bag. Oh,
okay. Yeah. I predict Candy, Rose, Simone, Gottmik, top 4. I think that is like so clear to me. There was a part of me that was like, yeah, they're keeping Olivia around. But this week, I don't know. They keep calling it out. They keep calling it out. I'm like, all right.
They had the same problem both weeks.
They're telling us. They're wanting the fans to not feel like a certain way when Olivia goes home. So they're setting it up. So I get all that.
Now, this
ahead.
might be early to call, but early predictions of, I mean, Miss Congeniality, granted that's a topic for next week's episode because that's what the roast is going to be, is of former Miss Congenialities. But when you think of this season and we kind of consider, well, the quote-unquote fan favorite / Miss Congeniality is not, usually not within the top 4, do you think that would be Olivia's?
Is it fan favorite, Mary, or is it Miss Congeniality? Just let me know.
I don't know.
And I'll tell you. I'll tell you which because I think they're different.
Okay, so let's say, okay, let's ask both. If it's Miss Congeniality, if it's classic Miss Congeniality, classic Ivy Winters Miss Congeniality,
then it's going to be Olivia.
Mm-hmm. If it's I think I know the answer to this. If it's actually no, I don't. If it's fan favorite, who do you think it's going to be?
You know, I want to say that it's Utica, but part of and it's not going to be the top 4. So I'm taking all of that out. So I think it's either Olivia or Denali.
Denali? Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, fan favorite, it was like my knee-jerk reaction was, oh, Candy, but I don't think that she's been fan favorite